guys, Dorothy here with Done by Dorothy, and we are here today working on our For the Love of Australia journal. So I wanted to get started with that. So first things first, we're going to start with our base page. This is the page we did yesterday, so I'm working on the back of that because we want to cover our main pages first. Then we'll go back through and add all our small ephemera, things like that. So I'm going to use my 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Remember the one we tore off of yesterday? And I'm going to go ahead and use it and just glue it down on my page. And then I can come back through and, you know, rip off my edges and clear that. If you hear noise in the background, I apologize. I got my daughter she's doing dishes for me, so there's noise in the background. I apologize. So let's glue this down. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. Well, we're just sort of relaxing, taking it easy. I made homemade donuts this morning, so it's been sort of a busy morning for us, but not too bad. And again, if you're smart, you would not have done this way because I got something in there. Ouch! I poked myself with my needle. I do that every once in a while. It's really crazy. Because I would have glued the page and not the paper because I'm probably going to overglue and have sticky spots now on my mat, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm just going to match this up in the corner so we can have a nice even top and slide it over to the side. We will be inking, so we will have a little bit covered up, but and if it sticks out over the sides, it doesn't matter because we can trim that up. And there is a little bit over the side and the edge there, but I'll just trim that up in a little bit. And we'll have to pause here in a minute because I have to run and get some water because I forgot to get my water. Let me get this glued down and then I'll run and go do that. Sorry to have to pause you so early, but I promise this will be worth the wait. I'm really excited. I love doing the mixed media pages just because it's different from doing the basic. It's gonna be really pretty. Really green. Okay, let me pause. Run and get my water to rinse in, and I will be right back. Okay, and I am back. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, so we need to trim off the edges, so we're just gonna go ahead and do that before we add the layer across the bottom. And I don't mind so much around like the top where it sticks out because we're gonna ink that up, so I sort of like having that difference where you can really tell the layers are built up on there. Okay, and this again is the coffee dyed paper that I just stained green. If you have green ink, I can tell you how I done this. I actually went into my yard and I got leaves and grass and all that kind of thing. Let me grab a container so I can show you. Okay, so I went into my yard and I actually grabbed, this is plantain, buckhorn, wild buckhorns, if you're familiar with that, is what this is made out of. But you can use grass, leaves, whatever. I brought them in. I took all of the wooden part out, so I just had the leaves and, you know, like the blades of grass, weeds, you know, anything like that. I put about 1.5 cups of water, and I have a Ninja blender, but you could use any kind of blender. And I put my water in there, and then I put all of the grass and stuff. I sort of took my scissors, cut them all up into small pieces, put them in the blender, and I blended it until it just pulverized it till it was nothing. This was actually made out of powdered plantain that I use for some of my herbal medicines, because I do herbal medicines. But so I actually use dried plantain for this, and this is an alcohol, so I can just rub it on, and it will color it. Here, I'll give you an example. So I mean, there are, you know, if you don't have any dye or anything like that, there are possibilities out there. So let me, I don't know if I have a, you know what, let me just grab, I think I have a small piece of paper here that, I'm trying to find a white piece of paper to use. Yeah, here, I have, it's a notebook piece of paper. I think I've got notes on the back of it, but I think I'll be fine. Let me grab a sheet of the masking paper to put it on, because it is gonna, and I sort of shake it up. Now this was made with alcohol, and I just took 3 tablespoons of dried plantain, or any kind of, you can actually use basil or parsley, because it's green based. Take the powdered. This is actually with alcohol, and what I did is I put 100 milliliters of alcohol, and you would have to, I use scientific measurement when I do it, so you'd have to like transfer that over into your, I would say probably 1/4 cup of alcohol, of 91% rubbing alcohol, and then I used 3 tablespoons of the dried, so I mean if you were using basil or parsley, you would use 3 tablespoons, and then I put it in my canning jar, and I put the lid on, I mark it, I let it set like that for 2 weeks with that dried in there, and it'll soak all the alcohol up and all that. Then I take it and I get another canning jar, I put a coffee filter, and I pour it through, and then I wring out all of the leaves, throw the leaves away, and I kept the alcohol. And this is going to have the writing come through it, but and again, this is light, this isn't a dark, you can do it a lot darker, and like when I'm doing the grass, when I'm going to bake it in the oven, because this is alcohol, so it's a little different. If I'm going to bake it in the oven, then I put a lot more, like half and half, and strain it out, so it's extremely dark. And then, hold on, let me grab my drying gun real fast. I'm sorry, I was grabbing my air dryer real fast, which this is going to actually run the blue lines in the notebook paper, but this may not show as well. I use this for some other things too, so not just... You'll see this ain't going to keep a lot of the green, because I use this for a base and then I add other stuff to it. But it will change the paper a little bit, so you can see, you know, it does change the tones of the paper. So, and down here you can see it a little bit more where it has that green tone where it's dried through there. So, you know, you can do different things. I actually use that and add other stuff to it. So, but you can do that. But this, I actually use the grass with water and mix it up just like you do your tea, which is why the green is a lot more pronounced than with the alcohol, because I mix it all up with the water, squeeze the leaves out, and then I have just the green water, and I dip my paper in it and soak it just like you do with coffee dyed paper, and then bake it, and it gave me all of this green. So maybe I'll do a video and show you guys that one day. So I have my base page here, and I have this page right here, and this is, let me grab my ruler. I'm almost certain it's 8.5 by 6, but let me not quote. Nope, it's 5.5 by 8.5. So I do want to take my tear ruler because I want to do a torn edge across the top, which is why I made it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to take my tear ruler I do it this way because it's a little easier to grab the big one. And I'm just going to barely hold it over like that. Oh, well, I poured the 1/4, but that's fine. I don't mind that sort of ruggedness that it does. Let me ink my edges up before I glue this down, just so it, I mean, I'll go back and re-ink the sides of it, but there's some things you only get when you're inking as you go around before you glue it down. But yeah, I can, if you guys are interested in it, I like to do that in the spring, so it may be, oops, a little later on in the spring when you know, you've got lots of flowers and, you know, really nice green plants. I use a lot of dried herbs and stuff, but again, I have a lot of stuff like that around that a lot of people probably don't have. Unless you're, you know, you deal with herbal medicines and stuff like that, you probably don't have a lot of, but I do. But I have done with different things, like for yellow, I've used turmeric. Oh my gosh, it is so bright yellow, it's crazy yellow. I'll do this again, the inking again, once I get this on there, you know, at the very end, but I'm just trying to make sure where that, because we're making a pocket, a really big pocket out of this. I wanted to, okay. So we're going to glue this on, and then I'll come back and trim up this side. I'm going to use my art glitter glue. This is a piece of a Stampin' Up! Botanical. Let's see. Let me figure out where I need to start here. Okay, I start it right there. And like I said, I'm going to make this a pocket, so it's going to go all the way across. I'm going to make sure I put like a little bit of extra around where the hole is, because it's going to be more likely to come loose around the hole than anywhere. Hopefully I'm in camera where you guys can see me. Let me try to, my lights have shifted on me, so hopefully that's bright enough for you guys to be able to see. I'll match my corner up here. This one's going to be going over here. Make sure my bottom's matched up. Okay. And make sure I glue this all the way up to the tip, because I didn't go all the way up, because that side was a little lower. Okay. Now we'll go through and trim this off. Okay, there's my, re-ink this up. And again, if you're following along, this is day 2, and our, well, actually day 3 if you do our prep one, and this is our second page in, so that gives us a nice little tucky spot right there. Okay, now I want to add a little bit to this. I just don't like how plain like this is. We are going to use the picture of our dingo today, so let me cut it out. And I am going to, just like I did yesterday, I sort of like that, you know, not so fussy cutting, but sort of fussy cutting look, just by sort of shaping it around. Trim this up. And we're going to ink it up really good. And we're just going to, again, I'm using Tim Holtz Distress Ink and Vintage Photo. It's probably one of my favorites. I mean, I know there's lots of greens out there that I could be using. But I sort of want, you know, the greens to come from the background, and we will be using a lot of greens and a lot of golds. Okay. So, and I mean, that would look great if you just glued it on there, but of course, you know, we're going to add a little bit extra. I do have this cheesecloth that I dyed. I used, to dye this, I used green, a green reinker, and also Distress Oxide reinker, so it sort of gave it that grayish tone that sometimes you see. But I wanted something that was sort of, had a green tone, but it was sort of earthy. Let me pull this out here. So that pulls a little bit more. You know what? I'm not sure. Oh, no, I want him down here. I think maybe on this lower side over here. Sort of like him right there. Yep, yep. Okay, I got new glue, which is good and bad. So let me actually use. I'll just poke a few holes in there, and it's enough to you get Fabri-Tac running, because you know it just goes crazy anyway. So I may have to go back through with a bigger needle and poke a hole in there because it's just not letting a lot out. Okay, so sort of get this laid out here, pat that down some, and again, me and my cheesecloth. I know. I had somebody say that the other day, you use cheesecloth all the time. Like, yeah, I do. I love the effect that it has. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna have to make the hole in this. I mean, it's just letting a little bit out, which is nice, but a little hard on the wrist to. Okay, so glue Mr. Dingo down. Okay, now I do know that I want to put a tab up here, so I'm going to go ahead, and I have this, and I dyed all of this the same, so it's just a little bit of a lace. I actually think I want a little piece bigger than that. Let's cut a nice big tab. Sometimes I like them bigger, and sometimes, and I don't really care if it's all nice and neat. Ooh, I have that one too, though. I sort of like that, I think. I think I like the eyelet. So let's, I don't even, okay, I do have this cheesecloth. It's such a pretty green. I did it at the same time I did my paper. So I want a piece of it. just to sort of add. Let me trim this up a little straighter. Jeez. Okay. So with it all wrinkly at the top, it sort of adds like a little ruffle at the top of my eyelid. I really like that. Then the Dollar Tree, if you're going with golds and greens and you're in the US, they have 2 different colored greens and a gold at my Dollar Tree, so you might be able to find that. I wanted to pull out some of the gold. I always hate getting the plastic off these things. It drives me crazy. There it goes. So it's such a pretty gold. Let's trim that off there. I just need a little tab of it. And I'm going to trim this because I like doing a little bit of a diagonal. You know, let's just put it across the bottom there. Let's trim this up just a bit. Okay, and then we'll put the gold across the bottom so we sort of have like a layered up tab there. So let's a little bit of glue on here, and we'll tack that cheesecloth down with it. There we go. And then let's put a little bit on the gold ribbon. That gold looks really good with that green. I hope you guys can see it. Then I'm going to put a little bit of glue on here, even though I'm going to staple it. I wanted just a little bit of glue to sort of hold it in place in case the staple would ever come loose. Let me make sure you guys can see. Pull this out a little bit so it's all the way to the end. I'm gonna check here because it's actually gonna come over on the, you know what, let's not do that this way. Let's see, that's our tabs over here. So let's put this way. So it shows on this page, but not necessarily as a tab. Or you know what? Don't pay any attention to anything I do, guys. Let me put some more glue on here. We'll put this across the bottom. Sometimes I like having, you know, a little bit of something hanging. I'll put it over here on the bottom towards the corner. Yeah, I gotta poke a big hole. I mean, it works. But it's gonna be crazy if it ever bubbles up out of there. Okay. Okay, now I could leave this alone, but I can't do that. This is just too plain for me. So I'm going to, let me get my palette knife. I'm going to set this aside just for a second. I'm going to pull out my palette knife. And I'm going to stir this up. This is our homemade texture paste that we made. If you guys remember, if not, look in the DIY, the Done by Dorothy DIY playlist. And there is a playlist where we made our texture paste, and that's what this is. It's just the plain white texture paste. I'm trying to stir it up. This is probably not the best palette knife to use because it's metal, but it's flimsy. So I'm just stirring it up. I always like to stir it up again because it sort of revitalizes it. Because sometimes around the outside edges it will get a little crumbly. It mixes back in and works fine. But when you first open it, you'll think, oh, it's too dry. No, it's not. You just need to... Okay. There we go. So I'm just going to pull out... This is actually a cheesecake container I got from Myers that had little lemon cheesecakes in it. I'm going to just put some of my texture paste in there. Not a lot. Let me... Because texture paste goes a long way. Let me... And like I said, the texture paste recipe is there. And the DIY if you need it. I think that'll be enough. Yeah, I think so. And then I have some, this is actually Folk Art brand. It's Inca Gold, metallic finish acrylic paint. And let me make sure it's, I pulled the cap off of it before I start, yep. And I'm just gonna squeeze a little bit in here. This will, and I would say I probably put maybe a half of a teaspoon in. And then I'm just gonna stir this up really good. That's one thing I like using these smaller dishes like this, because if you have such a small amount, it makes it really nice to mix. Now we may have to add some more, but that's fine if we do. Now, at this point, you can do a couple other things too. So, I'm actually going to add a little bit more paint. Maybe about double what I used. And then I'm going to, let me see if I can find it. I have stuff hanging everywhere. I actually have some of this LA Colors eyeshadow, and this is actually called Sunshine, but it's a gold. It comes from the Dollar Tree. You can use any kind of gold eyeshadow, but I'm gonna flip this over. Little brush in there, but I like this because there's like $1 a piece, so it's like pretty cheap. And I'm just gonna shake some in there because I want it to have that glittery gold. And try not to breathe this in if you're shaking it down, because, and I probably put like maybe an 1/8 of there. So between the paint and that, is going to give it a really nice golden shimmer, which is what I want. Sorry if I'm shaking the table, stirring this up. And this is going to have a gold tone to it. Now, if you want to make, you know, just a gold texture paste, you don't have to use the white texture paste. You can actually just literally use the metallic paint in it instead of the white, and it will have more of a golden tone. But I wanted a golden undertone, not so much that bright gold, although this is going to have a really nice shimmer when it dries. Okay, so pull this out, and of course, you guys know I love my Jacobean floral stencil. It's probably my favorite. It is a laser cut stencil. Don't try to use a paper stencil, you will lose your stencil. So I'm actually gonna put this here across the top. And I'm not gonna put it all the way, I'm just gonna sort of go across the top and sort of into the corner. And again, this is really nice. I mean, it's real, it's borderline maybe a little too thin. But I sort of like that when I spread. And I'm just trying to hold my stencil down because you can smear it where it'll smear under your stencil, and you really don't want that. And it doesn't have to be everywhere like this. I'm just going to put a little bit up in the corner. And again, this is just to dry and to create texture. Okay, now I actually have some gold glitter, and I'm going to put some glitter across there. I'm not a huge glitter fan. A lot of people love glitter and use tons of glitter. I will use glitter, just not, it gets everywhere. Okay, so I'm actually going to, mine has a cork in it, so I'm just going to very lightly, because this is going to adhere. And another thing nice about having the laser stencil, oh, see, like that, you don't want that. Don't shake that much. But with the laser stencils, I can just wash this and it'll clean right up. So I'm going to lift my stencil now. Make sure you have a trash can closed, because you will have the excess. And it's all over my floor. I'm going to pause this. You can blow off the excess. I'm going to pause this and run in and wash this really fast, and I'll be right back. Okay, and I am back. So I ran and washed. It took about 45 seconds, and my stencil is completely dry and clean. So I'm going to come back in with my dryer. If you do this, do not dry too close, although it's already starting to tack up pretty good. So, I mean, I could walk away and leave it for about a half hour, but because I'm videoing, I want to try to... And see, I really could have went through, and because it sticks, it adheres to the glue, I could have went through and glittered all of it. But I wanted just areas, so I'm going to dry this out really good. So you can tell through here where the lighter color is. I could have put more gold in there, but I didn't want to water my texture paste down too thin. So, you know, if you want it a lot darker, make the texture paste, but instead of using the white acrylic paint, just use the Inca Gold. And I'm going to end up making some of that, so I will have it on hand for later pages. And yeah, it's dry, so that's how fast it dries. You know, it works really great. So there is our page. It's got our glitter on it. We've got our pocket. Of course, we've got our dingo and our little lacy tab here. I know I showed you earlier, and I found this metallic Folk Art Inca Gold at Walmart. Now, if you have like Finnabar Inca Gold paint or wax or whatever to wax over top, you could do that too. The Dollar Tree had these green and gold, and then I also found, which I didn't use on this page, but gold and green metallic tissue paper, which is going to be sort of cool. I thought we might do one whole page with maybe the green on the background. It might be really neat to do. So, but here we go. So this is, it's a little soft. Most of it's dry. There was one little spot on the edge where it was a little thicker, where it had bubbled up on the edge. And then you can actually take your knife and just sort of go along the edge like that, and it'll scrape that off. Now, if I wanted to add a little bit more, say, you know, of an ink and gold color to my page, like maybe down through here, or, you know, along the edge here, sort of pulled down little gold, we could do that. Let me find a little piece of paper here, and I'll use my masking paper because it does have a little coat in it, just a drop, because I'm not gonna, and I'm gonna use, I'm just going to hold it on its side. Let me have a little hangy dangy thing. I'm just gonna walk it through. See how I have that just a little bitty line right there, so I don't have a bunch. And then I'll just go up here along the edge. Just giving it a little bit of, because this gold does have a little bit of a shimmer to it. And I don't want to do it, you know, like in a perfect line across, so just randomly sort of pulling it down. Get, you know, pulling different amounts on there, just scraping a little bit of the line. And I could even sort of add some over to that. Let's try to pull it down some. You can see. So it sort of adds that golden shimmer just around the edge, sort of gives it a different color. So, and you can just sort of keep scraping that and moving it around, you know, if it's thicker in a spot or two. And then, like this page, the masking paper, it actually kept the gold on it, so I can keep that and use that as a tear sheet to, you know, put in one of our later collage papers. So yeah, I sort of really like that with the gold. I actually think I'm going to take a little ink and just sort of lightly hit this through here, because I don't want it to be so stark white. Not a lot. And obviously you don't want to run your blender through that paint. I just want just a little bit to sort of fade that bright white, especially like right in here. It was really stark white where there we go. Yeah, see, I like that, where you have hints of white, but not everything is solid white. So there we go to page 2 of our texture paste of our stencil up here. We use the ink and gold around our pocket, of course the torn pocket. And so like this, we'll use, say we're going to use an envelope, you know, we can do an envelope in there. Of course that hasn't been, these haven't been flattened yet. And maybe a ticket, you know, you have multiple things in there. We could have, oh, let's see what else we have. Okay, let's just throw an index card in just to show you. I mean, you can still fit quite a bit of items in there. So even though we have a few pages, you know, and that's still, you're going to show the decoration up here. You're going to have this down here. You're not going to take away from the page when you put it in the pocket, which happens a lot of times. So lots of ephemera can fit in there. So that is page 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it today. And I'll hold it close so you can see it. If you can see the texture paste with our glitter. The ink of gold around the edging looks really pretty. And then of course we have our little tuck through here. So let me grab our journal base here. Put this in water really fast. Oh, and we have to punch our holes. So let me move this over here a bit. Oops. Okay. And of course we're going to hold this in here and we're going to poke our holes like we've been doing. Put that to the side. I keep it close since we're using it so much. Trying to get rid of all the little holes where we did it. So with our holes poked in, it looks really great. So this is going to look really good with the gold and everything on it when we get ready and we have our grommets. The grommets are going to look really nice in there. So, okay, let me put the lid back on this. And pull this back over so we can put our journal page in. And, you know, if you didn't want to use, you know, the glitter, then you could, if you want to keep the glitter on, you could actually spray it with a little hairspray, and it actually sets it. So just, but it actually, I mean, there's a little bit, but you're always going to have some that's going to come off. Let me, I'm trying to line my holes up here, and I'm having issues. There we go. So, get our, so let me show you from the outside. Even though our covers, we don't have anything on our covers, so we do have that hang down on the bottom. We have this over here, so adds a nice little, and this being the cheesecloth, you know, over time it's going to fray. And open it in, we have page 1. Then you turn it over, you have a completely different looking page. I mean, that's, I mean, you look at the collage and everything over here. So this is so much more simpler, and it's got that big back pocket. So, you know, I want to make sure we have lots of pockets and tucks for different size ephemera. And it's got all that Anka gold around it, just made it look gorgeous. And of course our gold ribbon and all of that. So that is page 2. We will be back tomorrow with, we will work on page 3. So, you know, the first 12 days we will take up doing the main pages, and basically, and then we'll have, so basically we'll do the covers and everything after that. Then we'll go back through and add all our individual little pages that we're going to add, but we want to do our basic pages first and have them done. So again, that is page 2. We put it over here where you guys can see it. Hope you guys have a great day, and we will see you again next time. Bye.